I came basically from a very, I would say, a poor family. We grew up basically I grew up as a young child in the hills of Missouri, almost like a hillbilly. I mean, we had outdoor plumbing and those kinds of things. But I never, ever felt like we were poor, because everyone we lived around, you know, they were in the same condition. And I worked out on the farm with my father. I was always the person that was outside. He was a very dear person to me, much older, 20 plus years older than my mother. And so I was the oldest child in that union, and I was always outside with him. I basically worked from the time I was 6 years old. The first animal he gave me was a newborn calf at age 6. And from there, basically I had a little business all the rest of my, all the rest of my growing years. I always worked at something. So the values were work and family and being honest. Just all of those kinds of values were very, very important to my family, to my mother and my father. The first group of girls that I had the honor of working with was a group of girls from Irvin High School. And they were the 1Y Teen Club that was in existence when I actually went to work for the YWCA. And the girls were, I think there were probably about 15 of them. And so when I took the job, they knew more about the program, of course, than I did, because I hadn't worked there. And so I got them together and I asked them to help advise me. I said, my goal is let's build the largest white teen department in the country. Let's have a really outstanding group, because our girls in El Paso need this type of an organization. And so they sat down with me day after day after day. I mean, I started to work, as I recall, about the 1st of August. And so during the entire month of August, they would come to the YW, or I would go out and meet them at a fast food place in Northeast El Paso, and we would talk about the kind of program we would like to build, what they enjoyed doing, what they'd like to do. And there were young women there that ended up going to national meetings with the YW in years later, and ended up on the board of directors. So I was very honored to learn from them, and that's what I remember the most about them. Actually, I didn't really want to do that. I didn't want to change. The executive director of the YWCA, then the YW had moved from its little building on Franklin Street up to the new building on Brown Street, which was going to be the YWCA forever, I think, in all of our minds. And so when we moved up there, she came to me and she said, Myrna, I'd like to have you be the associate executive director. And I said, I don't want to do that. I like working with the teenagers. And she said, well, you can still do that. If you'd like, you can still supervise that program, but you really do need to help me out and be the associate executive director. And I said, well, I'll try it for a little while and see if it's something that I like. And so from there, we developed additional programs other than just Y-Teen Club program. At that time, we had about 2,000 girls in Y-Teens throughout the city. And so we began to develop other programs for teenagers. And I think that particular job gave me the freedom to look beyond just the club experience for girls. I didn't do anything by myself. I mean, I don't think any one person does this. I really don't. And I guess what happened to me when I became the director of the YW, first of all, when they first offered me the job, I turned it down. I didn't really want to do it. And then they came back again and said, please do it. And I said, well, I'll do it interim for a while. And because I really didn't particularly want to change what I was doing. I enjoyed the teenage, and frankly, the job scared me. I watched my predecessor and I thought, I don't want to do that job. And so when I finally became the director, I guess what happened to me, and a lot of people ask me this, I started just bringing people together and trying to use other people's ideas and thoughts and brainstorm with them about what would be good. And then we began to do some surveys and identify what community needs were. And so we knew there was a need for childcare. I had young children myself, had no place in the world to leave them. So we knew there was a need for childcare. We did about, I think, almost 2 years of committee meetings. Every Monday night we met consistently with people in the community that were also interested in and needing childcare. And that's how the childcare program grew. And I would say to you that almost all of the various programs grew out of either an identified community need, or I would go to, with maybe some board members, to some national meeting and find out that, for example, the homeless program. I found out that the Seattle YWCA had started a homeless program. We had homeless women living in the parking lots in our branches, in the cars. And they would come in during the day, take a shower in our facilities, and then go back and sleep in their cars. And so when I found out the Seattle Y was doing this, I said to the board, why don't we do that? So those were the kinds of things that happened. It's not like we, I did anything. It's definitely a we. There's two programs that are really pretty dear to my heart. The first is a program called Project Redirection, which is a program that deals with teenage parents. And, we're not certainly never encouraged girls to get pregnant, but if a girl found herself pregnant, then what we were really trying to do was to make sure that she had all the resources that she needed in order to finish high school, educate her own child, and move forward with her life, go to college, and so forth. And so Project Redirection was a program that I felt very, very strongly about, because what was happening is that once a girl would have a baby, she would then maybe have a second baby or a third baby, unless she began to build the self-confidence, the ability to go back to school, get her education, and so forth. So Project Redirection was certainly a very favorite program of mine. And then the other program, I guess, is called the homeless program, because getting those women out of their cars and expanding it the way that it has, I've seen women's lives 100% changed as a result of getting off of the streets and getting into some decent housing and beginning to save some money, go to work, and so forth. That's a very, very meaningful program to me. I think probably the award I remember the most was the Hannah Solomon Award. It was like 1975 or something. I'm sure you probably read that I had a bout with cancer. I think most people felt that I was probably not going to live very long. That's pretty much what they told me. And the director of the United Way asked me to go to a meeting with him, a luncheon meeting. And I went to this luncheon meeting totally not expecting anything like that. And so it was a very humbling experience. And in fact, I teased some of my friends and I said, I think you must have given me that because you thought I was going to die real quick. But I guess it was so surprising to me, because I really didn't feel like I had done anything to deserve that kind of an award. And so it was very surprising and very humbling.